What's up? Hope everyone's having a good day and is ready for another video in the series we like to call Underrated Throwers. Today we got a very special one. I know I say that all the time, but we got Tom Petranoff, a former American / South African insurance. I'll get to that. Jav thrower, and he is most known for holding the world record for the old rule Javs, and I'll get to that in a second as well. I'm pretty sure, yeah, he held the world record, and then I think he finished with the either second or first, or held, I think someone passed him, I forget, but he held the second. I know he was at least top two with the old rule Javs in terms of just all-time distance. He is a two-time Olympian, winning a silver medal in I think 1984. I'm pretty sure. I'll list all his accomplishments and all that in more detail in the video description. But he threw 99 meters and 72 centimeters with the old rule Javs, and then he threw 89 meters, 18 centimeters with the new rule Javs, which are still the Javs being used today. And you might be asking yourself, damn, how did he, that's such a big difference. And the reason is because, I'll give you a brief history lesson. So for those of you who don't know, there used to be the thing called, I guess now, the old rule Javs. So the grip was placed a little bit more towards the tail so that they could stay up in the air longer. So basically they wouldn't dip down as soon in the air as they do now. And what that means is that you get people throwing 99 meters, which, if you don't know, is basically the length of an entire football field. And what people started doing was they were starting to throw into like the stands, and it was actually becoming dangerous. So they changed the where the grip is, so the balance point, a little more forward, so that the jab would, the tip would go down sooner, basically. So it just wouldn't have the same air time. They didn't change the weight or anything. They just changed the balance point. So now they just dip down further. So yeah, it made a huge difference. They used to launch those things. But 89 meters, 18, like that was still like middle of his career. So I guess he was still in his prime, but like he's starting to get a little older. I mean, obviously, like, I'm not making an excuse or anything. I don't even know the guy, but 89 meters, 18, like, that's still, I mean, 90% of jab throwers would love to throw that as a personal best. But yeah, compared to his 99 meters with the old rule, I guess that's 10 meter difference, but still, one of the greatest, I think the greatest American jab thrower. Granted, I don't know that many. I guess the only other one I could say that's really, really good is Brew Greer, who I've also done a video of, who also threw like 93 meters, but that's with the new rule jabs. So Tom Petranoff, he was 6'2", 240 pounds, a world champ silver medalist, Olympic. Okay, it's weird. So, the Olympic Boycott games, he was a silver medalist in 1980. Now, I think the Boycott, I need to brush up on my Soviet Union and Cold War history, I think, a little bit. But from what I can remember, I'm pretty sure that's the year the U.S. boycotted the Soviet Union. I think some other countries did too, and they didn't participate because of the Soviet Union. So they had their own separate Olympics. So it's not really the Olympics, I guess. It's like their own separate thing. And you guys in the comments, I'm sure will correct me on this. This is just based off just complete memory, because I'm not going to do an entire history lesson on the Cold War and the Olympic boycott games in 1980, because one, I'm sure that would bore all you. I'm sure you guys are more interested in the throws aspect of this video. I hope. So you guys can do your own research on the Olympic boycott games, but I think that's why. Um, and the other thing I said I'd get to is, what's interesting is he was American, but he also competed for South Africa in the early to mid 90s, where he became a two-time African champ, and his 89 meters 18 is actually the national record for South Africa. So he does hold the national record, just not for the U.S. And yeah, and then later on, like the last couple years of his career, he went back to the U.S. where he got third in the Pan Am Games in 1999. But yeah, overall just super consistent, medaled, but competed in a weird time in history. He competed like pretty much the kind of the end of the old school, like the old rule jab, and then the beginning of the new rule jab. So it's very interesting. That's a big adjustment too in a technique to change between that, because you know you have to fly it differently and all that. So it makes a big difference. As you can see, there's a 10-meter difference in his case. But yeah, but overall, super good technician. Obviously, he threw 99 meters. I don't care if that's with the old rule jabs. That's insane. Like, imagine someone at one end of a football field throwing to the other end. Like, that's just not right. That's so crazy. I want to thank oh my god, what did I just click? Whoa. Oops. I want to thank Gerald here, Gerald Holkema. I would give him a follow. He has a plethora, an absolute plethora of videos that like this, just recent videos. He has like full comps of like Mannheim videos, like the Mannheim like center videos and meets and stuff. And he's a well-respected person in the throwing community, and just overall just fantastic. Has so many like obscure films, so if you're a real nerd about throwing, give him a follow, and you can just dive into like like some random me in like the 80s. He'll have like the full comp of it, and he'll have just like videos where I cut off the slow-mo part, but he'll have like the full speed video and then the slow-mo video, and then like he has a fantastic channel, so shout out to him. Without him, I wouldn't have like 90% of the videos I have. So yeah, but want to give him a shout out. But let's now get to the technique. Oh wait, I totally forgot the point of the series. Why I think he's underrated. Well, one, because I think a lot of people are just like, oh, it's the old rule jab. So, and they see like the 10-meter difference, and they're like, he obviously wasn't that good. Guess what? 89 meters 18 is still insane. He's still a national record holder. He's still a world championship. He's still like a multiple-time medalist in major competitions. He's also a Goodwill Games champ as well. Yeah, overall just, yeah, crazy athlete. And a fantastic mustache as well. Which, as you know, obviously adds 10 to 15 meters to your throw, So, yeah, that's really good too. And why else I think he's underrated? Most part because he's old. I know I say that for basically every one of these videos. But it's more of just shouting out people that, like, for the newer generation, not that I'm like 50 years old or anything. But for like people like just starting to throw, or, even people my age and whatnot might not know who Tom Petranoff is. And by the way, if I'm saying that name incorrectly, I do apologize. But yeah, so that's the other reason. And that's about like 99% of these throwers. The reason why I say they're underrated is because just a lot of people just don't know who they are. Even though like some of them are just goats in the sport. But yeah, so basically this is just an educational, this whole series just is to educate and to basically just educate on the history of the sport, pretty much. And, and also to, analyze unique techniques. Some people I analyze are underrated, not because of their accomplishments, just because how far they threw, and also like they do like interesting stuff like Eric Cadee or Tom Walsh or something, who have very like unique like one-on-one individual like just crazy techniques, like or Adam Nelson or something, and stuff like that, and highlight like different ways you could throw and have success and stuff. But that's just an overview for this series. But mainly, mainly to sum up all that, mainly the reason is I do a lot of these people is because they're old, and a lot of newer throwers might not know who they are. And even during these videos, I learned stuff I did not know. Like for example, I did not know that Tom Petranoff or whatever competed for South Africa. So I learned something in researching him as well. So, but yeah, let's get to this. Now, the transition and all it cuts off a lot of his front step, and it just kind of just goes just pretty much into his crossover. So I'm sure he does a full run up. So this is his 99 meters 72 throw. Why it's in black and white, I do not know, because this was an 83. So they had color, but whatever. I guess a lot of the throws from I guess, yeah, maybe like travel cameras back then, because actually now I come to think of it, a lot of throws and stuff were in black and white, even in like the early 80s. I think maybe just like the travel technology of like cameras traveling, like portable cameras, I mean, maybe just didn't have the ability to have color. But I was not born in the 80s, so I have or 70s or whatever, so I have no idea. I do not know the history of cameras and the color in cameras, so I do apologize for that. But, alright, let's get into the actual nitty-gritty of the technique. Alright, so, once again, the first kind of little part of this got cut off because of the transition. No shade or anything, I'm just telling you how it is. Obviously he was doing a run-up before that, so I'm not going to try and count his steps to the front because he already starts this crossover here. But we could speak a little bit to the front part. Let's see, how much do we get? So, overall, just, pretty easy. You notice how he keeps hit the jab right on his forehead. I know this is really grainy and kind of bad footage. I do apologize. It's just a product of the era, so use your imagination a little. But yeah, so he holds the jab pretty much at the top of his forehead, which is good because when you drop back, then it will be eye level, which is what you want. If you are doing your front run and the jab is like at your nose or like down here, when you draw back, you're going to draw back and it's going to be down, which is what you don't want. You don't want it to be angled this way. And you don't want it too high because then when you go back, it will be a little too high, obviously, and you won't get a good one. And it'll just be really hard to control if it's super high in doing your crossovers. But like forehead height is usually good. All right. And like top of the forehead, I mean. And like hand pretty much at your head. And I can't really tell, but I prefer the jab to be a little bit more tipped down. And that's simply just when you're doing your forward run, I mean. And that's simply because I feel like when it's just a tiny bit tipped down, when you draw it back, it will flatten out to be where you want it. But, tomato. That's just my opinion. All right, but now he's starting to get into his crossovers. All right, so he hasn't started the jump back yet. But let's see. Let's analyze, not critique. I guess in a way critique, but let's analyze this transition from the forward to the crossover. So he's starting to turn his body. You notice that the jab is perfectly stable, the same height. That's what we want to see. But he's starting to angle his body to the side, doing his crossovers. Now he draws back. He does a very, very slow drawback. I prefer, not that I'm any expert in Jav. I probably know the least about Jav compared to any of the other events. But from what I know, and I can only say what I know, is basically you want your drawback to be, and what I mean by drawback is when you transition and you actually put the Jav back, like your arm back, like you're drawing like a bowstring back to launch. And that's basically the kind of motion you want, just straight back. He has a little bit of a flare. You see how it kind of goes down just a little bit, and then it will go to where it needs to be. Now, he has it pretty down. He has it like his nose and nose kind of mouth level. And I wish I actually analyzed how he threw the new rule Jav, because having it this, and this is what I meant at the beginning of the video, of throwing the old rule Jav to the new rule Jav, it's different in the release point, and like because of the way it's balanced. So having it, the old rule Jav being a little more down here. Now some people do throw like that still, but you see a lot more people and they'll have it more like here. But because the balance on these old rule Javs are a little bit more back towards the tail, it makes more sense that it'd be down, because it's going to be like this longer in the air. So if, let's go here, and this is a big difference. Like, look how down that is. That, if I was to see that in a newer, like new rule Jav, and one of my athletes was doing that, I personally would say that's wrong. However, in the balance point in this Jav, being further back, you want to release it a little higher, just because it will maintain that a lot better. Whereas a new rule Jav, if you released it that high, it will go down a lot quicker. Like, it will turn, let me clear this, it will curve down a lot more. So the old rule Javs, they used to go like da 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 da, and then start tailing off. The new rule Javs will go here and follow more of like a bell curve, kind of like a discus kind of arc. Obviously going further than a discus, but the same kind of physics apply in terms of the release. But the old rule Javs is different, and you'll see a lot of the people who threw the athletes that threw the old rule Jav will have their Javs angled. Let me get a straight line, angled more down here instead of like that, where the tip is at like their eye level. So you'll get a lot more flatter angled releases rather than up. But again, that's a big difference between the old rule and the new rule. All right, so this isn't really wrong because of the Jav he's throwing. However, if he was throwing the new rule Jav, and actually after this video, I might make another video comparing this to his new rule Jav. It should be flatter in the way he's holding it. Now, he's also a beast, so it might not matter for him. But I forward-tracked a lot of this, or fast-tracked a lot of this. Let's actually analyze his crossover, so the lower body, and then we'll get to his left arm. So the drawback, pretty slow. I would like that a lot faster done, kind of like a Thomas Roller kind of drawback. Whereas just like when he transitions, I don't know why I'm demonstrating this, like you can see it, see me demonstrating this, but basically when you go transition from your forward to your cross, that's when you should draw it back. So it should just be one fluid motion, take up like 1 or 2 steps. All right. And that's more to feel rhythm, and so you don't rush the finish, because you just take too long. Not that he's taking like a long time, but if you take a long time, to put it back, you leave more room for error. Whereas if you just kind of just snap it back, it will make it a lot easier to stay in control with the jab. And it will just make more sense rhythmically, turning your body to the side to do the crossovers. All right. But let's see here. Very, very good left arm. Oh, sorry. I said crossovers and then left arm. Oops. I'm going out of order for what I said. So transition there. So here. You see how he's at this slight angle up. Okay, maybe not that much. He's slightly angled his body so that he's more over his right leg. That's what you want. You don't want to just be completely flat. You want a slight angle. Now, obviously, you don't want to be like super like far this way. Like, you don't want to be like this. He's more here, so he's not completely just straight. It's very, very slight, but it makes a huge difference. Because one, it helps you just stay over your right when you get into your penultimate. And then two, it just makes it a lot easier not to go too fast with the crossovers and have too flat of an angle to throw. So that's very good. Oops, that's backwards. Of course, this official's in the way, because why wouldn't he be? So we don't get to see that crossover. But you see, now he starts to angle a little more down, and he starts dropping that arm. Usually, you know, just like I said, this would be bad for like a new rule jab. Usually, you would want that to be a little more like this rather than that. But again, different styles of jab. All right. So then you get here. Oh, sorry, he gets here. Very nice. Now, normally, I actually like the crossover to be a lot more like high knees. Kind of like Thomas Roller. Instead of like a karaoke kind of style or karaoke type of style of crossover. But it's just two different schools of thought. People obviously do both ways and have success with both. So it's like, that's like a nitpicky thing. So it's more just a different style than what I would coach. But, you know, tomato. But I think the high knees one lets you stay a little bit more over. And it provides you to have the upper body a lot more stable and stuff, and not wiggle around as much. But and I think you leave less room to overrun the space. So you run into less like problems at the front in terms of worrying about space and whatnot. But yeah, at the front, I mean. But this style works obviously well. You know, you do 99 meters with this, so obviously it's good. All right, but he gets here, very, very nice. And now, right, this is his penultimate. Yep, okay. Oops. Okay, this is his penultimate. So pretty even. Now, he gets into his penultimate. You notice he does a big pull in with his left leg or his block leg. And he's going to travel a little bit further. So this is a penultimate step. So it's going to be longer than your regular crossover. So there should be a noticeable difference. Like, what I mean by noticeable is on film like this, or just feeling, the penultimate step should feel different than your just regular crossover. It should be a lot more elongated, a lot more stretchy, and a lot more exaggerated than a regular crossover. So you'll see. Let's just play. Oops. Ooh. Let's back up. I forgot this was not the slow motion. You see how it like he let me give you a little more room to see that. So you see his crossover is nice and tight, and then the penultimate, it's just a little bit longer. It's not as exaggerated as like like Johannes Vetter, or if you freeze frame his penultimate, the way he steps his, just one of the most insane positions ever. But yeah, it's not like the most insane one ever, but like penultimate, but it does the job. But okay, let's get to it. So he lands there. Notice the angle he's at. He's at this angle, ready to attack. Very nice. And you'll notice he's not dropping his arm. So he doesn't drop his arm. His arm is still in line. It's just a little... it's so hard to tell because of the quality of the video. I can't even really see the jab. Yeah, I really can't actually see the jab. Where is it? Okay, there. Yeah, okay, so his jab is like somewhere here. So basically in line with his headband. Yeah, so it's like in line with his headband. It's like right here. Yeah, right there. That's his jab. Alright, which means... yeah, something like that. Alright, so that's his jab. Yeah, like I said, really hard to see. Yeah, so it's actually in line with what he is. So his arm's not like dropping. He is just at a super angled position. Again, because of the way this old school jab, sorry, I keep saying old school. Old rule jab. I guess it is old school, but the old rule jab, oops, let me clear that. Old rule jab flies. You want to throw it a little higher. At a higher angle. Not like to the moon, but just a little bit more than you would the old rule. The new rule jab. Alright, so he gets here, and you see how he's reaching, and you notice when he does this, the upper body is not moving really at all. So he goes down, down, turns the right hip, and you notice the right hip is done when the left foot lands. So that's the big difference between like shot put and discus. Is like shot put and discus, they basically land at like the same time pretty much. Especially if you're like a glider. But here, you turn the right foot to get the left foot down. And what I mean by that is by the time the left foot actually gets weight on it in the front to like block, the right side should already be done. So I like to always say the right foot and like the right hip basically make the left foot land. And you see that really good here. So he turns and then the left foot lands there. But the right side's done. Alright, now the jab is still back. His chest is angled up. The jab is back. It's slightly bent here, which is interesting. Let's see if he extends it. But you see the right side is done, pretty much. I can't tell if it's off the ground because, again, the quality of the video. I think that's his left arm. But we'll get to his left arm. Don't worry, I haven't forgot the left arm. And now he's going here. Again, the video, I can't tell if that's his elbow or his hair. So, gets here. And he rotates his rotator cuff up. Throws with his lat. Very, very nice. Again, that's just how you throw a jab. And you see it's like super above. Well, okay, maybe you can't see, but it's very above his head. And yeah, I think, let's see. Let's analyze this. Let's do some deductive reasoning. So the hand is there. One frame, it's there. All right, so the hand was here in this frame. All right, next, hold on. Next frame. Pretty sure the hand is, oh my God. undo, is like here. I think that's his head. Could be wrong. Yeah, that is his head. All right. Now his hand is like here. All right. So yeah. So he is. That's not what I want. It's that motion. All right. That's relatively okay. So yeah, he has that standard arc right there. All right. So that's good. That's what we want. I just needed a little bit frame of reference. I'm sure you guys do too, because that is a very hard thing to see with this video quality. And I actually have decided I am going to do a follow-up video to with a older video, sorry, I guess a newer video of him with the new school, with the, oh my god, I keep saying new school or old school, new rule Jav, to see the difference in his release point and how and if he throws it differently, because I'm actually curious now and I won't be able to go to bed until I figure that out. All right. And you would think I would have done that before I recorded this and did a compare video. Well, two things. One, I'm an idiot. Two, I don't think the software I'm using actually can do two at a time, like side by side, like the old software I used to do with my old phone. I'm not a great technical person in terms of like technology, so maybe I can, maybe I can't. But I'm not for this video. I'll make two separate videos, but the other one will be super short. It won't be like a super detailed video. It'll just simply be the difference in release, because I'm in like release angle, because I'm just very curious. So it'll probably be like a 5-minute video. But yeah, okay. Let's get back to the actual throw. That was a long tangent for nothing. But yeah, the jab releases right above his head. So it's out of his hand, like right here. Yeah. Right there. And then does the follow through. So okay, that's actually interesting. Does his block, oh no, his block does extend. Okay, so his block does extend. Okay, so most people will do is they land with it already locked, but he lands bent and then locks it out. That's actually interesting. Okay. That's actually a lot like a Sean Disc type of block, where you land with a bent knee and then as you turn, you extend. But obviously, like I said, in Jav, you I guess in a way you do this for Sean Disc, but to turn the right to get the left down. However, Jav is more like, the only other thing you can really equate it to would be like the glide and shot put, just because they're only two linear throwing events really, where there's really not really that much rotation at all except at the finish. So like in glide, basically the feet kind of just land together at the same time, maybe like a little bit of a difference. In Jav, it's a lot different in the timing, like I just said, so. But in a way, it's kind of the same same concept as shot and disc for the rotational, in terms of you keep turning the right to get the left down faster. But the difference is, by the time your left gets down, your right side shouldn't be finished in shot and disc. You should still be back. And the difference, and that's a big difference to this, where you should already be done with your right side by the time your left foot lands. But the block is also similar too with Sean Disc. Well, his is. That's actually a very unique block. I don't see that much. But yeah, so he does that, pops it back, gets that good block, and then the nice follow through. So yeah, he has plenty of room at the finish, like you should. And yeah. But let me actually play this just regular motion, because I actually totally forgot to do that. And then I'll get to the left arm. Don't worry. Now, obviously, this is still slow. Obviously, you don't throw 99 meters going that slow. So this is still like kind of slowed down, just a little bit. Especially that left arm, that right arm. I'm sure you wouldn't be able to even see it on film. So that is definitely slowed down. But. All right, let's get to the left arm, and then we'll call this a video, and then I will immediately do a video on the on him throwing the new roll jab because I'm very curious. I think there is a video actually from the same channel as I'm doing this one that does the 89 meters 18. So his national record for South Africa. All right, left arm. That's interesting. Okay, so his left arm goes back and forth. So it goes like that instead of around. Usually, I prefer the around and not the back and forth for one reason. Because when you go back and forth, what tends to happen is that you will tend to open up your upper body a lot more, so it takes a lot more control. So it's a lot easier to actually just like start rotating when you're doing your crossovers as like your entire upper body, as opposed to the circular motion with the left arm, which keeps you, I think, more can keep you more back. But to each his own. Obviously, if you can't control this, then I see that as like deciding your grip in like shot or disc or jab. It's just a personal preference type of thing. Obviously, it works for him. He's not opening up. But for like a beginner, I would recommend the circular one. Let's see. He does that the entire time. He actually doesn't do that many crossovers. He really just gets to the point. And then the left arm will go down. So it'll go... He doesn't... So that's a big difference in jab compared to shot and disc. The left arm will not go out. It will go down. And I like to think about it as like you're opening a door to your pocket. And so you'll see him. The thumb is angled. Oops. The thumb is down. Let me get rid of that. And then he will rotate it. And that will help him rotate this side up. All right. Right there. And now his hand is at his pocket to allow this side to go up, his right side. All right. So, you know, that's pretty much standard in terms of the left arm. So not too much to say there. But yeah, overall, fantastic career, fantastic thrower, fantastic mustache. And that's really all you need in life, huh? And yeah, overall, just an absolute beast. And he also has a lot of great instructional videos as well on YouTube. I don't think it's from his channel, but I don't think he has a YouTube channel, but just type in his name on YouTube and you can just look up. He has a lot of beginner drills. I think he has like a 40 or 50 minute video just on a whole bunch of just basic just jab drills. So if you're a beginner, give those a watch. Those are really good. They're not like outdated or anything. The actual mechanics of the jab hasn't actually changed that much since he threw. But yeah. Yeah, overall, I think that's it pretty much. As always, I will link his height, weight, notable accomplishments, and PRs in the video description. And thanks for watching. Have a good day. See y'all later. Bye.